If you know how to play songs to a numbered chord chart, I want to share with you an amazing keyboard or piano shortcut that will allow you to sound much better than you really are, especially if you're like a beginning piano keyboard player. And it's super simple. I mean, it's you'll be amazed at how simple it is and yet how good it sounds. However, there are several steps that I want to lead you through so that you can learn and understand exactly how to do this. And so I want to show you that now. All right, so step number 1. By the way, this is a shortcut, remember. This will not allow you to play the piano and master it and sound, like an advanced player. It's just a shortcut to get started. However, you can play simple stuff and sound like you really know what you're doing. So here we go. Number 1 is you need to determine the key. Determine the key. So this shortcut works for all 12 major keys. But for the simplicity of this video sake, we're going to select the easiest key to play in, which is the key of C. So C it is. Step 2, we need to create a major scale. Major scale. So I'm going to go down here, and I have other videos that show you step by step how to create the scale. So you can go back and watch that if you don't know how to do this, but I'm just going to do this here. So here's C, and select this note. The next note of the scale would be this. So it's whole step away, another whole step away would be there, then half step would be there, whole step away, another whole step away, and one whole step away, which makes the complete scale from C to C. Okay, now that's done. Number 3, what you're going to do is you're going to number the scale. One through 7. Now watch this. So I'm going to go back here. Here, remember it's C. We're in the key of C. I'm going to number the C, the root note 1. Next one's going to be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And the next note, there's one more. It's going to start back again at 1, because if you look, that's another C. So all C's are 1. Instead of going to 8, we're just going to go 1 through 7 and back to 1. Now, I want to let you know that this would work in any key. The patterns would be a little more difficult as far as if you played in the key of D, you would have to use some of these black notes. But however, you can, this would apply to any note or any key that you decided to play in. You take the same steps to create the major scale, the number, and then you move on to step 4, which is 4. You're going to memorize memorize 3 chords. Now, I'm going to show you what these chords are, but you have to memorize it by the name of the chord. So here we go. On this section over here, the first chord you're going to memorize is what we call chord number 1. Remember, these are all numbers. So number 1 is going to use the notes 1, 3, and 5. So in the key of C, notes 1, 3, and 5 would be this, 3, and 5. You play those two or all 3 of these together, that's chord number 1. The next chord is chord number 4. It's called chord number 4, and chord number 4 has the notes 1, 4, and 5. So if you go down here, instead of playing 1, 3, 5, you wouldn't play this 3, and you would just play 1, 4, and 5. Now notice that 1 and 5 didn't change. Only the middle note changed. Okay, Here's the last chord you're going to need to memorize in order to play basically all the modern style songs out there. Pop, worship, definitely worship stuff, country songs. Most songs only are going to need these 3 chords. So the last chord is chord number 5. And chord number 5 is going to use the notes 1, 2, and 5. Once again, 1s don't change, 5s don't change. The only note that changed is one of the notes for each chord. So here, instead of playing 4, you would play 1, 2, and 5. Now remember, I'm not going to show you this in other keys, but it would apply exactly the same in any key, including like in F sharp. You would just create your scale, you would number it, and you would play the same thing. 1, 3, 5 for chord 1, 1, 4, 5 for chord 4, and 1, 2, 5 for chord 5. It's that easy. Okay, I want to make it, basically you learn the system, but I want to take it so that it's even easier to play. Because when you look at these chords, as long as you're playing notes 1, 3, and 5, that's going to be a chord number 1. It doesn't have to be in the order of 1, 3, and 5, or 1, 4, and 5, or 1, 2, and 5, like this example is. You can play them in any order. So what I'm going to do is this. Let me erase this. Okay, so you remember the first chord, number 1 chord was 1, 3, and 5. Watch this. Instead of playing this way, I'm going to move, there's another 1 here. I'm going to move this 1 note so the 1 note plays high, and I don't play this lower note. So now we have note 3, 5, 1, but it's still 1, 3, 5. This way will be the easiest to play because of the way the fingers are spread out. You would normally play this note with your thumb, this with your index, and this with your pinky. And if you move it this way, the only note that will move, since 1 and 5 stays the same, is your thumb. So watch this. You would play this for chord number 1. You would play this for chord number 4, and then you would move your thumb down. It's going to be a little stretch, but not bad, down here for chord number 5, so that it's all laid out really easy. The other thing is this voicing actually sounds the best. So it's not only going to be easy, it's going to sound great. Okay, so now all you need to know is when to apply and play these chords. And so I want to show you that now. Let's move this down. So the most common chords you're going to run into in a song are chords number 1 in this order: 5, 4, 6. These are numbered chords. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you're going to need to go watch my video on chord progression theory that explains all of this. But these 4 chords are used more than any other chords in any song, and they could be in any key. Probably after that, the next most used chord is going to be chord number 2. After that, you're going to run into a chord number 3. And then maybe after that, you would run into chord what's called a flat 7. Once again, if you don't understand this, It's all explained in one of my other videos that explains the theory behind this whole thing. And this is all you would have to do in order to apply this shortcut to these chords if when you see it on a chord chart. So here we go. This chord shape number 1, chord shape number 1 is going to be used for chords 1 and 6. Whenever you see a 1 or 6 chord, you play the chord shape number 1 up here. Whenever you see a chord, or I'm sorry, for chord number 4, you're going to play whenever you encounter these chords, chord 4, 2, or the flat 7 chord. So basically, out of 2 chord patterns with your right hand, you're already playing 5 different chords. And the last one, which is chord number 5, you're going to use that to play chords 5 and 3. So you have 3 chord shapes with your right hand that allows you to play 7 different chords. Now, if you're playing piano, I should say keyboards in a worship band or a band, that's all you need to do. As long as you have a bass player, as long as you play this in context with the other chords and instruments, other players, it's going to sound fantastic, especially if you're using like a string patch, or even an organ works for this, or even piano. However, if you're playing solo piano by yourself, you can still use this shortcut. The only thing you're going to have to do is you're going to have to add a left hand bass note to give it context with these chords. And that's easy to do because, once again, if you're playing in the key of C, this is all you would have to do. You would have to go and number, once again, from C to C, somewhere in the lower register of the keys. Let's say 1, 2, here we go, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and we're back at 1, right? So whenever you play a 1 chord, for example, you would play the 1 shape up here, which is 1 chord is 1, 3, 5, along with a 1 in the bass. And if you played those 4 notes together, it would sound awesome. Whenever you encounter a chord number 6, you remember chord 6 and 1's the same. So you would play the same thing on the right hand. However, you would play the 6th note on the bass. You would be amazed to hear how different it sounds just by changing the bass note, even though the 3 notes up top are the same. Okay, so if you were going to play chord, here, let's move on to this one. The 4 chord, remember what you're going to do is you're going to move to the 4 chord pattern, which is the 4, 1, 4, and 5. And on the bass, you would play the 4 notes. So down here with the left hand, you actually play the regular note, the chord name notes down here. Okay, how about if you want to play chord number 2? The right hand stays the same. The left hand just plays the 2. These 4 notes played together will be a chord number 2. Chord number 2. How about a flat 7? Well, flat 7 is this, you keep the chord number 4 up on the right, and then you would, instead of playing 7, flat 7 is right down here, half step below 7. If you don't understand that, you're going to need to go watch my video series on chord progression theory using the number system as well. So these played together will be the flat 7 chord. Okay, and I hope this is now making absolute sense. If you want to play either chord 5 or 3, you would go move into the chord 5 position. For chord 5, you would play the 5 bass note. You would have the 5 chord. If you want to play the 3 chord, you would keep this the same, and then you would play 3 in the bass. So there you have it. An explanation of the shortcut. It could seem a little confusing, but if you take it step by step and get on the piano and start practicing, this will become like second nature to you. The next video is going to cover the next steps. What if the songs have chords that are a little more complex than these 7 simple chords? Well, there's a way you can apply this shortcut to that as well, and so I'll share that in the next video.